Hi, welcome to Yahweh's Renaissance Ministry. This is the Yahweh's Creation part of the broadcast, where we explore uh, different things of the different parts of Yahweh's creation that are just really amazing. So it's pretty simple, and it's really just a focus on just the miraculous, amazing elements of Yahweh's creation, whether it's on a microscopic level, or on some kind of macroscopic level, whatever it is. This whole part of the broadcast is really just a focus on just how amazing Yahweh's creation is. And we focused previously on things like the DNA and photosynthesis and nebulas and natural wildlife and the different parts of our universe and underwater sea creatures and just what whatever we've focused on previously in the different weeks is really meant to highlight the amazing creation that we exist within. I mean, the ability to broadcast through the internet to billions of people worldwide is just amazing to me. It's just incredible. It's really a miracle and something we take for granted all the time. And this part of the broadcast is really meant to kind of allow us to step back and look at things objectively and realize, wow, this is this is amazing. I mean, it's something we take for granted and look at all the time, or maybe it's something happening on a microscopic level that we never really see all the details of, but it's just amazing thing that really should be put under a microscope that we can look at and analyze and just be in awe of. Just like with anything that exists in this universe, our physical bodies. I mean, the eye. I did a broadcast based on the different parts of the eye and just how the human eye works, or really any eye from any living being, how that works. It's just amazing. It's how complex it is, and there's so many different parts of this universe that can be explored and looked at and highlighted and um, just looked at in awe, really, ultimately. But this is something. This particular broadcast is a focus on a particular area of technology, holographic technology, that I just think is amazing and really fascinating. And how far it's come, the evolution of holographic technology. And I have never been. I never engaged with the virtual reality side of things. I don't know. I think being with your eyes closed and you have a headset on, you become very detached from the world, and I think that's why it hasn't completely caught on, and it hasn't gone completely mainstream in a lot of ways, because I think people don't like the idea of being detached like that. They don't like having their eyes closed. They like to see what's what's coming at them. They want to be aware of what's happening to them, to have their eyes open all the time. So, but I think that maybe that same kind of technology that's you know manifest in things like virtual reality, if it was something that you can see with your eyes open, uh, then that's basically the idea behind it. The idea, that something that you know people can embrace. So holographic technology, I think, is just amazing. I mean, how far it's come, but it's all by the power of the Most High. That's what people need to understand. And there's a lot of wicked things that have come about and have manifested in this world, and just like with any technology, it could be used for wicked purposes or it could be used for good purposes. There's this constant struggle with things that are happening in the world, that things are being used for people are doing things for wicked reasons instead of good reasons, and there's this power struggle. First the good versus the force of evil. People working towards the implementation of the kingdom of heaven on earth, and the people are working towards the implementation of the kingdom of hell on earth. So that's the thing. There's just like this constant struggle. It's why does somebody commit sin in the lives? Why do I sin? Is because I got caught up. I got pulled to the dark side. I did something, that's just bad. I started swearing or something. I thought wicked thoughts, or I thought evil thoughts, or angry thoughts, or got really angry, or whatever it is that I did that um was sin. So, and all the wickedness in the world, the like the internet, for example. I mean, Yahweh put it in the mind of um what was it? Berners Lee, I think is his last name. I can't think of the gentleman that was attributed with the invention of the internet. But are all these people good or bad? I mean, maybe the intention behind the internet initially was good, and then it ends up being used for wicked. Timothy Berners Lee, I think, is something. Uh, anyway, you can look it up. It's not. He's a British computer scientist. Anyway, the idea behind technology isn't necessarily always bad. Things like all the different technologies that exist, all the different industries, all the different skyscrapers, and all the different forms of architecture, and all the different cars and planes and trains, and all the inventions over time. I mean, are ultimately by the hand of the Most High. He allows these things to come into fruition. He allows for free will. He allows for the evolution of our civilization, because it's really a fulfillment of his book, everything's said and done. Because ultimately, just say, for example, if you believe that microchips are going to be used as the ultimate means of accessing a fully computerized, fully digitalized, global cashless society, then ultimately that technology would have to have been developed. He would have to have allowed it as part of his creation. Everything is part of his creation. There's nothing that exists outside of Yahweh's creation. So any of these things that come into fruition are really by his hand. He's allowing these things to manifest in the world. So technology, which is not always a wicked evil thing. I mean, people use technology all the time. And technology definitely has been used for amazing purposes. I mean, in the area of medical technology, and how many people's I can't imagine how many people have their lives have been saved. Maybe not their souls, but their lives have been saved by through medical technology. I mean, I know my life was saved. I mean, in a biological sense, I was in the hospital. I had a very, very bad case of appendicitis, and my life was saved through the means of medical technology that's been developed over time by the power of the Most High. Ultimately, He allows for these things to be developed, to become advanced, and it's really ultimately something that should be attributed to Him. Everything said and done. So this is just an area that I think is just amazing. Holographic technology, and I think with VR, I think we're gonna I think it just hasn't really caught on completely, because it just you have your eyes closed with VR, you're disconnected. But with if something with VR can be translated, or everything with VR can be translated to holographic technology or augmented reality, where somebody can see something with their eyes open, I think it'll, you know, go into the, hit the just penetrate the mainstream to the nth degree. I think it's the future of technology, really. Everything holographic in orientation is something to me that is really going to advance things. Everything's said and done, and I think people would embrace that more. I'm not saying they should embrace it completely, where they sell their souls for technology or anything like that. Not that, but basically they can they could, advance our society in a lot of ways, and maybe, do a lot of good things. So who knows? But I still think it's amazing that it even exists, some of this stuff, and I just want to share a video that kind of goes into a lot of that. All right.
If you've ever watched a science fiction movie or a TV show, you most likely already know what holograms are. They're cool, they're futuristic, and frankly, after we saw them in action in the Iron Man movies, we can't wait to get our hands on this technology. Just imagine how cool it would be to have virtual objects in your field of view and interact with them, as if they were real. It'd give a whole new meaning to what we consider as computing, and our lives would be revolutionized many times over just with this single piece of technology. And of course, who doesn't want to be like Iron Man? Anyway, let's take a look at what holograms are, how far the technology's come, and what we can expect in the future. But before we start, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more awesome content like this. Now let's get started. What are holograms? Basically, a hologram is a three-dimensional photographic recording of a light field. In other words, it's a 3D image that can be projected onto a surface or in midair. This is in stark contrast to the photos that we're used to traditionally on our smartphones and computers. On these devices, the images are created using subpixels on the screen, and we interact with them using the touch display or mouse. There are basically two types of holograms being used at the moment: reflection holograms and transmission holograms. A reflection hologram is one that can be seen using daylight or spotlight. These holograms are created using laser, and the way they're formed allows them to be viewed without requiring a laser beam, hence the name reflection hologram. This type of hologram isn't anywhere close to what you see in the movies. In fact, a reflection hologram requires an entire surface to be created. However, it still has quite some depth to it, giving it that 3D effect. A transmission hologram, on the other hand, is created using laser light and is only viewable when a laser light passes through it, essentially illuminating it from behind. This type of hologram bends light as it passes through it, thereby causing the 3D effect. If all of this is too technical for you, don't worry. You don't have to understand how holograms work to understand how they'll affect your life in the future. Just like how you don't have to understand how electricity works to reap its benefits. So, who's making this technology? You can't talk about holograms without mentioning Dennis Gabor. After all, he's the inventor of this technology. Gabor was an electrical engineer and a physicist who invented holography back in 1947. But it wouldn't be until 1962 that the first hologram would be realized. This is due to the fact that laser technology, which is crucial in creating holograms, was invented by another scientist in 1960. For his work, Gabor was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1971. The technology kept on improving year over year as more cutting-edge technology was developed by various scientists. For example, in 1962, Dr. Yuri N. Denisyuk combined holography with a decades-old technique to create a white light reflection hologram. For the first time ever, he made it possible to view holograms in an ordinary light bulb. Then another major leap happened when Dr. Stephen A. Benton invented white light transmission holography. This type of hologram can be viewed in ordinary sunlight and projects the 7 colors of the rainbow. Artists at the time were quick to adopt this technology, and so holograms entered mainstream culture in a big way. Another reason why this was such a huge deal is that Benton's invention allowed for the mass production of holograms at a very cheap price. This further advanced the use of holograms in everyday life. In the following decades, many more scientists contributed to this area, and today we have highly advanced holograms that are used for various applications. There are several companies that are actively researching, developing, and creating holograms for numerous purposes. The first one worth a mention is ARHT Media in Canada. This company is developing a technology that would allow holographic telepresence. This is just a fancy way of saying that you'll be able to view holograms of people and talk to them in real time. I wonder where they got this idea from. The only problem is that we still have to wait for a few years before such a thing can become the Jedi do in the Star Wars movies. Guess we'll have to stick with the House Party app until this tech hits the market. Another company called Optimoa Corp from Taiwan develops live holographic animals for the German circus, Roncalli. This is a great concept where actual animals won't need to be kept in captivity and used in circuses. Holograms would replace them, and in doing so, also free them. You'd also be able to deliver a fully immersive experience, as the animals wouldn't need to be tamed or controlled by a conductor. So there'd be no risk of life if something were to go wrong, which unfortunately happens quite often with live animal circuses. Leading on to hyper-realistic performance holograms. If you've watched the video of Michael Jackson's hologram performing live on stage, you might have wondered who was behind it. Well, it was a company from the US called Pulse Evolution. And as you might have guessed, they're developing technology that allows holographic projections of artists to appear live on stage. The future of this particular application is truly limitless, and I, for one, can't wait to see where it ends up. Wouldn't it be thrilling to watch the Beatles together again performing in front of a packed-out stadium? You can't bring back the dead in a literal sense, but you can definitely create their holograms. Of course, it wouldn't be like the real deal, but it would be the closest thing possible. There are a ton of other companies and institutions that are working on advancing holograms, but these are the ones that are paving the way and showing the most promise. So, what makes holograms so important, and why are people so excited about their arrival? Let's take a look. The future of holograms. The real-world applications of holograms are truly limitless. Just as smartphones allowed for uses that we couldn't even imagine a decade ago, holograms will have applications across many different industries as well. They'll help make human life just that much easier and further extend our capabilities. Now, let's go over 5 exciting applications of holograms in various areas of human life. Number 1. Geographical mapping. Rest assured that any new technology is going to be looked at thoroughly by the militaries of the world to see how they can take advantage of it. And it seems like holograms are the perfect tech companion for the Army. They allow for geographical mapping of any location to a great deal of precision. This is of extreme strategic importance because it allows soldiers to study any given area with as many details as they want, and they can almost get a feel for what it would be like charting that terrain. Kind of like when you play Call of Duty and you have your map in the bottom corner. Allowing soldiers to preview the battlefield before risking their lives is like a little cheat code that pretty much all militaries are looking at right now. Number 2. The Holy Grail for designers. One of the most challenging things for designers is that they have to design a real-world 3D product on a 2D surface, such as a tablet or a phone. Now imagine if they could design in 3D space. It'd be like they're literally creating their designs out of thin air. This would give them the flexibility that they never had and allow the creative juices to flow in ways that are restricted right now. Since designers work in multiple fields, you can expect every industry to benefit from this particular use case. Number 3. Next-gen medical applications. This is another area that would see huge improvements in how things are done thanks to holograms. They would especially be of help for training purposes. Right now, if you give a junior doctor the responsibility to operate on a patient, their lack of experience would lead to serious harm or even death. But if they get to operate on a hologram, they would gain valuable experience without having to hurt a real human. Medical students could be taught the same way. In fact, this visual method of learning could potentially help them become better doctors and nurses and allow them to discover new things about the human body. The tech could also be used for better diagnosis, since doctors would be able to see what's happening inside a patient's body in live 3D. Number 4. New Age classrooms. Education is one of the biggest fields to get disrupted by holograms. Again, the possibilities with this are endless, and we can only imagine what developers will come up with. Currently, though, we can imagine students being able to study anything with its visual representation. For instance, they could study human anatomy in the form of a hologram. They could study how everything is built and how surfaces work in great detail. Something that's just not possible with 2D surfaces like books and computers. Another benefit of using holograms in classrooms would be that they're insanely immersive. So students would pay attention to the subject matter instead of getting bored and dozing off. If only they had this tech when I was in school. Number 5. Real-life gaming. Holograms are a natural fit for the gaming industry. Can you imagine the kind of immersive games that this technology will allow developers to come up with? Imagine sword fighting with a life-size samurai that's standing right in front of you. Imagine building a new world in Minecraft with your friend on top of your living room. And imagine commanding a whole fleet of spaceships and attacking the other player in a 3D space world. Yes, I know, we already have something similar to this with virtual reality headsets. But holograms would completely blow that tech out of the water. Companies such as Microsoft are actually said to be researching this idea right now. So it might not be too far away before we're playing a real-life game of Crash Bandicoot in our living rooms. These are just a few examples, and they already sound so good. Suffice to say, this would change gaming forever. What do you think? Are you excited about the future of holograms? Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and like always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest releases. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.